Hello.
Hi.
Shall we get on with it?
Yes.
That'll be the Tism.
Welcome to episode 26 of That'll Be the Tism.
I'm Emma.
And I'm Claire.
We are a podcast about our lives as late diagnosed neurodivergent people trying to adult. Yes, that's where we are. And we're back to normal a bit today, aren't we? Well, as normal as,
Yeah,
as
we're
it
back
gets.
to our version of normal.
We haven't got 18 clips this week for the podcast.
No.
We maybe went a little bit too far in some people's eyes in going through every single episode of the podcast so far in our birthday episode, but it was our birthday, so we can do what we want.
It'll only happen once a year.
Yeah.
So
let us know if you have a highlight of the podcast when you've listened to it. You have to listen to it first.
No, let us know now. Just guess.
Predict what we're going to talk about and then see how close you are.
Oh, yeah, they could do that. And if you guess right, you win a Tunnocks tea cake.
Yes, I was going to say Tunnocks tea cake as well.
Just a single one.
Yeah. So, shall we do our first segment header?
Yes.
Hyperfocus of the week.
So, how have you been, Claire?
Right. So, not hyper-focused, as far as I'm aware. Although when we were speaking before we started recording, we said, didn't we, that probably the reason why I'm not having hyper-focuses of the week to talk about might be in part because of the fact that I'm still in the midst of a career change and a life change and all that jazz. But also because my hyperfocuses tend to be internal things like worrying about things. So there's been a lot of worrying about random things. My husband's been on nights the past week. So the routine that I had created has gone a bit backwards again because I've had to create this new routine around him getting up at 7 o'clock at night and going to work. So I was saying to you, I'd never watched the soaps, but all last week I was watching EastEnders and then I was watching Coronation Street. I was having my tea as soon as my husband went to work, feeding the dogs then. We would go to bed at a certain time. I would look on my phone, read on my phone for an hour and then I'd go to sleep, and that's just been my life for the past week. So I haven't really been doing a lot. And I've had a lot of headaches as well, which I think is another part of the reason why I've just not had the energy to really focus on a lot outside of just getting through the days, which makes me sound really depressed, but I'm not. I think it's just, that's just the stage that my life's currently in at the minute.
Yeah.
Done a bit of crocheting, picked that up again. I'm nearly 50% done now, I'm at 46%.
That's good.
Of the main body of the scarf again that I'm crocheting for your wedding.
Yeah. I made a spreadsheet this time for mine to make sure I had enough time to do it all by the end of the year.
Yeah. I haven't got a spreadsheet, but I'm calculating the percentages every time I do a round of the pattern.
So I'm doing 4 rows a day, and then I'll be finished hopefully by the end of August, all of the crafts that I have to do for the wedding. If I can keep on track to that for the scarf again, and then the ties I've split up, and then my fascinator, I've easily got enough time, which is why I ended up definitely undoing one yesterday, which I suppose we can talk about now and then go back to your how have you been, because given it's on the topic of crochet.
The only other thing that I've got to say is related to one of your hyperfocuses of the week.
So we'll swap and change. Oh, change it up. Yeah, so
how have you been, Emma, and how is it related to crochet?
So the crochet, I'm knackered today because I was up until 2 a.m. winding yarn, which isn't fun. I mean, see, the thing is, normally when I've got a load of unravelled yarn, if it's somebody else's, especially, I'm okay to just untie it while I'm watching telly and, it's fine. and I've done it a few times. And basically, what happened last night, because I started the scarf again in December time, I think, and I was using a hook that was the size that it said on the pattern. And then when I saw Claire's and our friends last month, I realised that they looked a lot better than mine. It's kind of softer, less harsh. Like the colour just seems softer to me. And then I realised that I could probably do with upping the crochet hook size to make it a looser tension. So I shelved the one I was working on. I started a new one, which I'm now 30% through, which is nice. And last night I finished the ball and I decided that instead of starting a new ball, I would use one of the balls from the scarf again that I'd discarded. And so I started unraveling it as I was crocheting. So I crocheted a row, unraveled the yarn from one, and crocheted it into the other. Yeah, so they were attached. Yeah. And then it was about 15 minutes before the end of the program we were watching, and I stopped and I was like, I'm not going to have time to do another row. And then I was just mindlessly unraveling this scarf again. So I ended up with just a massive pile of unraveled yarn on my stomach. And so I had to put that into a ball.
Well, that's what I didn't understand, because when I read it, I thought you were saying that you'd unravelled the ball, and I'm like, why has she done that? And I just thought it's not going to make the situation any better, so I just won't ask. I read it as I should have just unravelled X person's scarf again, which was the one that you weren't happy with. So I didn't realise that that was the one that you'd unravelled.
Yeah, I should have just unravelled it before connecting it to the one that I was already
Right, okay. That
either
makes more
that,
sense now.
because then I could have wound it as I unravelled it, and when I got to the other end, I would have been able to start with the other end of thread. But
Yeah.
because it was attached to the scarf again that I was currently working on, I couldn't do that. So I made a little ball of yarn, and then I decided that I had to do the whole lot, because what I knew would happen with my brain being so amazing, with my brain being the way that it is, once I started raveling it up and winding it up and realizing how much of a pain it was to wind it while it was attached to the current scarf again and the old one, I had to finish it based on the frustration levels that I was currently feeling. Because if I hadn't been motivated by that frustration of I shouldn't have done this was a mistake, let's be annoyed for a bit, I wouldn't have picked it up probably for weeks. I would have just put it back in my crochet bag, and I would have got really behind with the scarf again. There were several options. I could have cut the yarn, but I didn't want to. I wanted it to be just as it was. But yeah, I was very cross. I had a load of unravelled yarn. It was 10 to 12. And so I just spent 2 hours just winding yarn. I didn't even put my book on or anything. I didn't think about it. I just wound yarn in silence for 2 hours. And then I was so stressed out by it when I got into bed that it took me a little while to calm down enough to go to sleep. It wasn't the best decision I've ever made in my life, but I'm going to buy a yarn winder thing, a Swift and a winder, and it's wooden and it's got rainbow bits. And apparently you put the yarn in and it just puts it into a nice bowl for you.
Oh, so you don't have to do anything?
No, you don't have to do it by hand.
That's cool.
So
I
that's
mean,
nice.
it's not something that I will use because I'm just using. I've got it here, actually. I moved it upstairs this morning because of the cleaners, so it's currently on my desk.
Oh, nice.
And my scarf again's attached to the end of that. So I have no use for one of those.
No. But if you buy a skein of yarn instead of a ball to do any projects, then it comes unwound.
Yeah. And this is the thing, is what I was thinking. I've thought about it at various points today to try and understand what you were talking about and not seem silly. And I thought, is it just a case? Because you do have these things sometimes with the Tism, don't you? And in life where you think, I've been doing something and am I the only one that's been doing it this way? And
Yes.
does everybody else unwind a ball of yarn before they start crocheting? That's what I thought you'd done. And especially when everyone else was just agreeing with you, I thought, oh my God, is this something that I should be doing rather than literally? that's all I've got on my ball. I've got a little bit, and
Yeah.
that's as far as it's unwound. And it is annoying sometimes because of the tension and everything. But I thought, I was just walking around the garden this morning waiting for Bernie to have a wee, and I just kept pondering it
Yeah.
and thinking, is it just something that I
No.
don't do, that like, is it an unwritten rule of crochet or knitting? So I'm glad to find that it's not.
Now, when you've got a
But I'm
ball, it's
not.
fine. And these balls are really good, the ones that we're using, because they're blocks, and so it comes off really nicely. But no, if you get a skein, which is not a ball of yarn, usually they're finer, like alpaca and stuff like that. You know, the fine wools, and they don't put them into balls because it impacts the elasticity. And in a skein, it's kept looser, but you have to ball it before you use it. And there you go.
Cool.
And
Welcome to our new crocheting.
and that's a little bit of craft talk for the listener that messaged last time. We've had a message from a listener.
Woohoo!
Saying that she likes when we talk about animals and crafts. So coming back to you.
Well, no, because would you like to
you
talk
want me
about
to?
gardening?
My hyperfocus of the week. Well, it wasn't really. It was a hyperfocus of yesterday.
Of the day.
My garden is brilliant and I love it. It's one of the things that really sold the house to us. And it's a really long, and at the bottom of the garden, it goes down to a stream. But at the top of the bank, where the stream is, there's a greenhouse, and it had 2 grapevines in it. And when we moved in, they'd taken over. We moved in this just over a fortnight, till it's 2 years since we moved into the house. And at that time, it was overcrowded. There was vine everywhere. It was a big mess of grape. And I said at the time, I need to clear those, cut them back. We have to wait for them to die off. I'll do it in the autumn. And I did it yesterday, nearly 2 years later. So they were just starting to come back. The leaves was just growing on them. And I just thought, you know what, I'm going to go in, and I went outside to mow the lawn. That's all I was going to do. I was going to mow the lawn before my fiance's parents came for lunch. And I went outside and I looked at the greenhouse and thought, nope, today is the day that I attack these vines. And so I decimated the branches that were off. The greenhouse was full of branches, removed one of the grapevines from the one side of the greenhouse because I wanted to put some tomato plants in there, and then cut all the branches down and left most of them on the floor of the greenhouse. And then that was it. That was me done. And I left the greenhouse and said to my fiance, all I need to do at some point during the week is rake that out, and then we can get some pajama plants, is what I wanted to say.
Oh, nice.
We can get some tomato plants, put them in there, and then I can have tomatoes in summer. Great, sorted. And then I can't remember how, but we ended up deciding that we'd go yesterday and get them. So we went after we'd been out for lunch with my fiance's parents and bought some tomato plants and a pepper plant. And then I had to rake the greenhouse out and put the tomatoes in, because the only other place we have is the garage, which doesn't have any windows. And plants need sunlight. So after his parents had gone at 5:30, I finished raking the greenhouse and planted the tomato plants in the grow bags that we'd bought and put the canes in. And today we've been to B&Q at lunchtime and bought some plant food and some tomato food and a watering can, which is something that you need if you've got plants that we didn't have.
Wow.
But I mean, we did have a bucket.
I tend to water my roses with a large pan.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. But when you've got to transport water from the water butt right down the other end of the garden to the greenhouse, I needed an easy, convenient carrying thing, because yesterday I just used a bucket and a jug. But I planted some bedding plants, I planted some tomatoes and a pepper, and cleared out the greenhouse and did loads in the garden. It was quite good. I'm covered in bites today. My arm is very bitten, so I'm a bit itchy, but I'm quite proud of myself.
Very good. Well, my gardening wasn't. It reminded me when you were talking, because my gardening is led by whether or not, when I let the dog out in the garden, what she finds will be hazardous to her. So I have been, because there's new stuff that's come out, and it's all like weeds, but they're not ones that I've seen before, because it's a relatively new garden. It's obviously getting to that point now where the soil is a bit worse for wear. So I'd Googled about this plant, and it was like, oh, well, it could be mildly hazardous, but don't worry about it too much. But my brain was like, no, it needs to come out now.
Don't worry about it too much.
So I'd managed to get luckily they just didn't take much pulling up. But then I don't know whether you've noticed or whether it's a thing that just I've noticed that I haven't noticed before, but dandelions are everywhere. Where have they come from? I know where they've come from, but dandelions are interesting, but that's for another day. How do they grow so quickly? It's magic. But they are all over that lawn. And I have never understood. We've got a robot lawnmower, and I've never understood it.
A robot lawnmower?
Yeah, my husband got one for his 40th birthday or a Christmas or something because we've got this flat piece of grass and it was getting so long in the summer that you couldn't see Bernie.
What, like a Roomba for lawn?
It's like, yeah, it's really cool, but I didn't understand how to work her. She's called Patricia.
Wow.
My stepdad got one that's called Patrick.
Okay.
Patrick Mower, as in Patrick Moore.
Very good.
So when we got one, she's called Patricia. But I understand how to use her now. So I did that yesterday. I've used her a couple of times now. And it's got rid of all the dandelions. And then I thought there was some dandelions on the edges that it didn't get. So I went round and chopped all the heads off. I think I'm turning into Alan Titchmarsh, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but you see, tomatoes for me, and my dad used to grow tomatoes. And when I think about tomatoes and growing them, it always makes me think of my dad. One week, my therapist had her tomatoes in the house because there was a frost. And I walked into a session and I was like, oh, so we're talking about my dad today then? Because that's all. It was just tomato plants and the smell of them. And it's one of my favourite smells is like a freshly pulled tomato. But I really felt, I was like, I planted these tomatoes and I was like, if I get one tomato, then I know that I'll have been successful as a daughter.
I know you've planted stuff before, but I used to kill everything in our garden. But I've got 2 rose bushes now. I got them when Bernie was poorly, and they're both, touch wood, still alive, and the leaves are just coming back on them. And they always flower a couple of times in the summer, and I'm always dead proud of myself because actually I got my first one in remembrance of my dad when we got the house, and that died.
Oh.
So this is a do-over, so I'm glad that this time I haven't killed my dad's flowers because he's been through enough.
Yes, yes, really. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to try not to think about it if none of these tomatoes like live. But I have watered them today.
And on the note of dead dads, can we say that on the podcast? Should we say that on the podcast?
Can we say that on the podcast?
No.
Seriously, you heard the highlights last week. We can say anything on this podcast if that's okay.
No, but we'll cut this bit out, but my mum won't be bothered, but I think your mum might be. Why am I whispering?
My mum wouldn't be, but you don't need to whisper.
Sorry, Emma's mum. I don't know. Anyway, do you want to talk about Mr. Blobby?
I don't know why Mr. Blobby's related to my dad.
Are we going to continue to talk about dead dads or we're moving on?
Well, you said on the subject of dead dads, I thought there might be something that was related.
No, you were talking about tomatoes and I was talking about roses.
Yes. And then you said, on the subject of dead dads.
No, I think I might have meant to have said, or I did say something about moving on from dead dads.
Oh, moving on. Right. Yes. Anyway, good.
Don't have anything else to say about dead dads and they're not related to Mr. Blobby.
I don't think so. Apart from that, my parents bought me the Mr. Blobby single as my first ever vinyl in 1993.
And I've never seen my dad and Mr. Blobby in the same room.
You never know.
Could be Tony Blackburn, could be my dad. Well, it couldn't be my dad anymore.
I mean,
that would be scary.
That would be terrifying, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad just resurrected himself as Mr. Blobby.
Anyway, so Mr. Blobby is one of the things that people associate with me, which I'm saying in that way because my fiance will tell you that I love Mr. Blobby and that Mr. Blobby is my favourite song of all time. And that's not true.
Isn't it?
It's not. It didn't even make my top 40 at 40 last year. But I am nostalgically connected to Mr. Blobby because it was my first ever vinyl. And on the back of the record sleeve, there was the words to Mr. Blobby, which isn't just Blobby, Mr. Blobby. It's got lots of words. And I know most of them still, 30 years later. And it's a bit worrying, but it's a reasonably amusing party trick. But yeah, we had a conversation about Mr. Blobby this week because of Dan Levy, didn't we?
Yes, and I'm just now realising that if we do have any international listeners, that they may also not know who Mr. Blobby is.
I was about to ask you to explain Mr. Blobby because
Right,
you're
so
better at explaining things than I am.
in the 90s,
Early 90s.
Mr. Blobby was on a TV programme called Noel's House Party.
Yes, it was.
And that was hosted by somebody called Noel Edmonds.
Not sponsored by.
I don't know if I'd want to be sponsored by Noel Edmonds.
No.
Noel
Would
Edmonds.
we want to be sponsored by Mr. Blobby?
Yeah.
No.
Well, I think we said we wanted to be sponsored by
I think
Mr.
we have
Blobby
that.
before.
We've had that before, haven't we? But
Anyway, so Noel Edmonds was a TV presenter. Mr. Blobby was on his TV programme, and essentially it's a person in a suit that is pink with yellow dots on and big googly eyes and can only say blobby, blobby, blobby. All of his words are blob, blobby, blob.
Blob.
Oh, blobby!
Just to clarify, it's not a suit as in like with a jacket and trousers that's pink. It's like a marshmallow man, like a mascot suit with big googly eyes and little legs, and he
falls over all the time, and that's the humour. It's quite slapstick, isn't it?
Yeah,
but Mr. Blobby also had a #1 single, which is the
Yes.
one that Emma's referring to.
Yeah. And I keep trying to resist the temptation to slip in quotes here and there, but nobody would get them other than me. And the only lyric that's coming to mind is when disaster strikes, he never gets depressed.
Well, that's nice, isn't it?
It is nice.
That's a motto that we could all live by.
Oh, there's lots of mottos in that song that we could all
live by. So anyway, it's like Big Bird.
Yes.
If Big Bird
was pink,
was on crack,
and have feathers.
Well,
yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I was watching a talk show that Dan Levy was on. And I love Dan Levy, and that's the only reason I was watching the talk show, because generally I can't pay enough attention to those sort of things. And the topic turned to Mr. Blobby.
Yeah.
And they were trying to explain it to Dan Levy. And then at the end of the programme, Mr. Blobby came out, and I just had to tell Emma about it because the look on Dan Levy's face was like he'd just seen like something unfathomable.
I mean, it is, yeah.
I don't really know why this is in the Catchups, but Mr. Blobby is just where Mr. Blobby is, isn't he?
Well, Mr. Blobby's, I mean, the
In
thing
life.
is, it's because in my
And he
world,
is one of your special interests.
The thing is, right, I don't want Mr. Blobby to be one of my special interests.
Nobody wants Mr. Blobby to be one of the special interests, but somebody has to.
Yeah, I mean, I had a Mr. Blobby themed 30th birthday party, which I didn't plan the theme, but because Mr. Blobby was my first vinyl, it just became a thing, like a thing that I said that people found amusing. It's just something that I know about, and probably if I see something about Mr. Blobby, I find it amusing and want to read it generally or look at it. And so I suppose that is a special.
Yeah, if it makes you happy, or, you know, because we were saying about songs before this, weren't we? And you hear certain songs and they'll bring out certain feelings.
Yeah. I mentioned Psyduck as well.
Yeah.
Like this week, aged 40, nearly 41, I have realised that Psyduck is a special interest of mine. Now, anyone that can see on my video will see that there are Psyducks behind me. Anyone that's spoken to me. And what the kicker was, and I mean, there's a Psyduck squeezy thing just over there in the corner of my eye. I have Psyduck stuff downstairs and little gadgets.
And if Psyduck's watching,
then please sponsor us. But what it was I went in my drawer and I pulled out a t-shirt and I opened it up and it was the wrong Psyduck t-shirt. So I folded it back up and put it back in my drawer. And when you're at the point in life where you
There is a wrong Psyduck t-shirt.
pick out the wrong Psyduck t-shirt, then maybe it's time to accept that Psyduck might be a special interest. And I was downstairs at the weekend and we had a friend over and I said, I've just realised this week that Psyduck's a special interest of mine. And my fiance looked at me and basically just said, just this week. But it hadn't quite dawned on me. He's the most autistic Pokemon. And he's great, is Psyduck. If anyone doesn't know anything about Pokemon, Psyduck is a duck that has headaches and gets more stressed out with said headaches until all of a sudden he has a meltdown and everything goes to pieces. And then he's all right again for a bit. And then he is an autistic duck. I mean, yeah.
I am an autistic duck. You are
could
an
be.
autistic duck.
But yeah,
we are all Psyduck.
We're all Psyduck. But yeah, when I first started talking about autism, I couldn't put a pin on any special interests that I had. But there's so many little things that I'm just randomly upset. But yeah, Psyduck, Mr. Blobby are two of the things. And yeah, it just became relevant because Claire sent me that clip and I was just like, that's amazing. It is amazing.
And we need to mention Mr. Blobby at least once a podcast contractually. Otherwise he'll kill our families.
We're not sponsored by Mr. Blobby.
He won't kill our families for legal reasons.
I don't think he's a murderer.
But having said that, though, if you saw Mr. Blobby murdering someone, he wouldn't get away with it, would he? Because if you were describing him in an e-fit, or maybe he would, because nobody can really describe him, can they?
Well, no, wow.
He's an enigma wrapped in a blobby suit wrapped in a...
Enigma. Despite the limitation of his poor coordination, he knows he'll show the world a thing or two.
He's dyspraxic as well.
Yeah.
Very good.
So, Claire, are you ready for a rave?
As ready as I shall ever be in my lifetime.
Ready? I still think it's exciting.
It is exciting, especially because every time I've just mildly forgotten it. So I hear it again and I'm just like, oh, that's quite good, that.
Yeah, the intro is what gets stuck in my head, so the rave doesn't get stuck in my head, but it's good. I like it. It's good.
It is
right,
good.
So on to the main section.
The main section. Yes.
And the main section today is...
a listener request.
Yes, we've had a message from a listener.
Woohoo!
So we had a listener email us, which was exciting, which was very exciting. And thank you very much, listener. And we're going to talk a little bit about accents and all of the reasons why they can be related to the Tism. There's lots of reasons why, isn't there?
Yeah. So the gist of it was that this person, when they think of my name, they think of our Claire.
Yeah.
Which is another thing that if we do have any international listeners, which we sometimes do, you might not know who Cilla Black is. And I would say that your life is poorer for that.
Yes.
Because our Cilla was lovely. Anyway, she was Liverpudlian. She is now in heaven. She's still Liverpudlian up there.
Yeah, I would hope so.
If there's a heaven, that's where Cilla is.
I reckon so, yeah, definitely.
Anyway, but she would say my name as in Claire. Because she used to present a dating show called Blind Date, didn't she?
And surprise, surprise.
And surprise, 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 surprise.
Oh, I'm going to have the theme tune to that stuck in my head now. We all know that life is full of surprises. Anyway.
Yes, and she would say, anytime there was anyone on the programme, she would say our Claire. So that one that we think is making a connection.
Yes.
Don't we? Similarly to when you quote TV programmes or when you quote musical, and it's a bit of a comfort thing. It's a bit of a script to say, isn't it?
I mean, if you hear a certain phrase and you always hear the same words in that same way, then that's making a connection to a thing. And sometimes it's a comfort thing, and sometimes it's just something that's stuck. Like I mentioned earlier before we started recording, when anyone says to me, well, I often say myself, how bizarre, but I always think of the 90s song, How Bizarre. Do, 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 do. Yeah. And then that's in my head for years. But that's a similar kind of thing is when you hear something. And the other day, I can't remember who I was talking to, but I said, it's nice to see you. And then the automatic response is to see you nice in the Bruce Forsyth style. Exactly. Because it's just things, usually it's song lyrics with me, but sometimes it is words as well. And it's just making a connection, and it's kind of nice, isn't it? It's nice to.
I think for me, it makes me feel how I feel when I'm listening to or watching those things. I will,
Yeah,
I would quote Friends a
Yes.
lot because I've watched Friends so many times.
Yeah.
And we were saying before this, weren't we? I tend to have, and I think you tend to have safe programs where you
Yeah.
can just stick it on. You already know what's happening. You already know the ins and outs of it. So no matter what you're feeling, it's relaxing and it'll make you feel a certain type of way. And I think, for me at least, those little things are similar to that. It makes
Yeah.
me feel quite nice to like
Yeah.
sing a random song lyric or
Yeah.
quote something from Friends or Hot Fuzz, which I would say probably the Cornetto trilogy is one of my special interests. So me and my husband will quote those. It's just part of our daily conversation now that things from there are like if we say those particular words, we will say them in the style of how they were said in the film.
Yes.
So that's why we think Claire was.
Yeah.
And then the other part of it was that we don't know whether it's when they're speaking to themselves around the house or whether it's their internal monologue in the house is
Yes.
very similar to Jim from Coronation Street. Now, Coronation
Northern
Street
Ireland.
is a soap in the UK, and some time ago there was a character who was from Northern Ireland called Jim McDonald.
Yeah. It's Northern Ireland, isn't it? It's the Northern Irish
Very
accent that. Yeah.
strong Belfast accent.
Yeah.
And there are a number of reasons why we think that that could be something that that person does and takes comfort from.
It's the comforting accent. It's probably a vocal stim because if it's
Yeah.
out loud, vocal stimming is. We did talk about stimming in an earlier episode as a trait of the week, but a lot of people think of stimming and think of hands flailing, or for vocal and out loud stims, they think of loud, irritating noises. I mean, whereas for me, one of my, which you'll have heard me say on the podcast before, but my main vocal stim is everything's fine. And I just repeat, everything's fine. And I know that sometimes everything isn't fine, but and it's not like I think I'm not disillusioned, but that's a thing that if I say it repeatedly, it helps me to calm down. And the more that I've kind of lent into it, the more quickly it helps. So doing something repeatedly, and if it's a phrase that feels nice or sounds nice, and that's why accents are
I
often.
think in particular a Northern Irish accent because it's quite, all the sounds are quite, there's no mistaking one of those accents, is there really?
No. And the word we is going to be in there probably a substantial amount.
Well, Jim, what was it that Jim McDonald used to say? He just used to say, so it is.
Ah, yes, that's what it said in the email as well, didn't
Yeah,
it?
it's
Yeah.
been a something, so it has. So it
Yeah.
has. You said before, didn't you? You don't like to do accents because you
I
don't want to offend people. Whereas I will give it a
terrified.
go, but Irish is not one of the ones that I can. I used to be able to do Irish and Scottish reasonably well.
I get very anxious of doing accents that aren't mine because I always feel like I'm not going to do it 100% right, and then someone's going to mock me for it. So I tend to not. The only accent that I talk in frequently is Yorkshire. And I go more Yorkshire depending on who I'm talking to and how stressed I am and overwhelmed, tired.
Well, you don't tend to, if you like talking to yourself or internally monologuing to yourself, use
No,
any different accents, do you? Whereas
no.
I would. I think probably the one that I would use most is more like an Eastern European one, which is weird because I don't know any Eastern European people.
That's
But I
probably
think
why.
And it's only vaguely, I would say, that's mostly what it's akin to. I think it helps with processing because you're saying something to yourself, but you're saying it in a different way. So you get in the sort of sensory part of it, but also it might make it sink in a little bit more what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I tend to get more like your type of Yorkshire when I'm really tired. And I think that's because that's where my Yorkshire accent naturally will fall to if I'm being really lazy about it. Not that your
Yeah.
accent's lazy, but it's more like I
Mine's
don't mean
Northern
it.
Yorkshire, mine's North Yorkshire, whereas yours is South Yorkshire.
Yeah, but I would say more like I don't rather than
Yeah,
that. Whereas I wouldn't say I don't, I'd say I don't.
that's true. Yeah.
I will start saying things like goes rather than goes,
Yeah.
which is a South Yorkshire way of saying things. And I think it's a tiredness thing, but it is also like maybe a little bit of a stim as well.
Mm. Yeah,
Um,
maybe.
and I would say my accent is more pronounced than other members of my family. And I think that's because I've picked up bits of Yorkshireness from
Mm.
Rotherham way that are more a different type of Yorkshire accent than mine because I work with a lot of those people and I heard them saying things and it was a mirroring thing, which is another thing that it could be.
Yeah, that's off a common accent,
Um,
I think, is
and a
mirroring.
fitting in sort of thing, but
Yeah.
equally, I liked the way that they said those things. So I'll tend to, I mean, it's not as broad as they are. Like the people from Rotherham will say, like, instead of pork, they'll say pork.
Yeah.
Cheese instead of cheese. Or door, shut the door. But it's nice, like,
It's a nice,
it's a
yeah.
nice, like, it's not a harsh, which is why, and this is a complete tangent, did you know that historically there was a lot of call centres in Doncaster, a lot of call centres in Glasgow, a lot of call centres in Newcastle,
Yeah.
and there were, when at least when I worked at BT, there was one in Northern Ireland, because they've picked those places because they know that those accents are the people ones that people most like to hear.
Yeah. It's the softness and the comfort. It's the kind of comforting accents rather than grating ones, aren't they?
Yeah. Which
So,
just doesn't help when people have telephone voices like I do, and you do that.
yeah.
We've said it like work voices, which is another form of mirroring. I used to get somebody really posh on the phone, and I'd go, "Oh, okay, Mrs. Smith, and afterwards people would be like, "What have you spoken to her like that for?" And I'm like, "It's matching
Tone.
the tone and the
It
sort."
helps people feel comfortable. That's the
Yeah.
sort of human trait, which a lot of people do anyway. It's not just a neurodivergent thing, is speaking in the same kind of tone as somebody to create safety and comfort, especially in work and things like that. And professionalism is the thing. And we've got this idea of what British sounds like, I guess, in a way, without an accent. And neutralizing accents is really common in the workplace. But with neurodivergence, it kind of goes to the next sort of level in masking, neutralizing accents and making ourselves sound not regional is common to just reduce the level that we stand out, or copying accents and mirroring for
Yeah. I
um,
think.
helping yourself fit in. If you're in a room of people and everyone's speaking in in a certain accent and you're the odd one out, then it would be normal to try and subconsciously your voice changes. You've already spoken, I think, about a meeting that you went into and someone
Yeah.
commented after you came out, I think.
Yeah, I don't know whether I've spoken about it on the podcast. I walked into a room full of people that were over to our business from Northern Ireland, and it was my job to greet them and show them round and see if they had any questions. And I went in with my colleague, and when I came out, they were like, "Do you realise that you were just speaking in a perfect Northern Irish accent then? Like, how did you do that? Can you do it now?" And I couldn't do it, but I had been doing it, and I was mortified because I thought, "Oh my God, they're just going to think I'm taking the pee out of them." But I think it was a subconscious way, like when you mirror body language and
Yeah,
things like that, don't you? And everybody does it, but I think in our cases, especially for late diagnosed autistic
yeah.
people,
It's a classic
You've
coping
learned
strategy.
that as a way of fitting in and not being perceived as being different.
Yeah. It's a coping strategy that is very common, that has just automatically been. It's like trying not to be different. Spending our lives trying not to be different and trying not to stand out and
Trying not to be perceived, which is why
yeah.
I said to you, didn't I, about the thing that I've seen online a few times called the autistic accent. And it does tend to be partly the sort of neutral accent, but equally, it used to be more part of the diagnosis criteria, didn't it? That do
Yes.
they speak in a monotone accent? Do they
Yes.
like always speak at the same volume? Do they speak in a sort of quite staggered way? And I think that potentially late diagnosed people, I wonder if that's less common because you've had to learn the ways to not stand
Yeah.
out.
It's a subconscious
But
way.
I mean, I do think I'm reasonably monotone, but the parts of my voice where I do have inflections,
Yeah.
I think a lot of those are learned from programs and movies and things like that and
Potentially.
other people.
Yeah, potentially. I know when I first moved to Manchester and my accent, my Yorkshire accent, was the subject of jokes from my friend. Like when you're talking about the saying there, don't instead of don't. So when I first moved to Manchester, and there's a band called Manson, and they've got a member called Stove, who I had a massive crush on in my teens. And Stove would have definitely been a special interest of mine in my teens for sure. And I used to say, I don't say stirve, I say stirve. And that used to be people would imitate me saying that. And then I'd be like, no, I don't say that. I don't say stirve, I say stirve. And it became a thing. And then after that, I put quite a lot of effort into not, because I just didn't want to be different. I didn't want people to have something to point out. You know, it's something that I laughed about at the time, but it was still something that I then put effort into avoiding. So, yeah, it's an interesting one.
It is, and I think I could probably look into it and talk about it till the cows come home because it
Yeah.
used to be when I did my English degree, that was the part of it that I enjoyed most was the language side of things and why people say things like they do. Especially considering Britain is so small, the variety of different accents, even like me and my
Yes.
husband grew up about maybe half an hour apart and our accents are completely different.
Yeah.
His is a lot more neutral than mine because he lives closer to Nottinghamshire, whereas
Well,
I live
me and
closer to Selby and Goole.
yeah, well, me and my fiance only grew up an hour apart from each other,
Yeah,
and he'll argue that he doesn't have a borough accent, but he does
he
have a
does.
not really strong, but it is definitely noticeable and identifiable as from being from nearby.
Further north, yeah.
He's not from Borough itself, but it's definitely a Teesside accent, and it's very clear. And it was one of the things that when we met, it's like a familiar, homely, comforting accent. And it was a nice bonus. I knew where he was from, obviously, because we'd had a conversation, but I'd not thought about his accent. And when he started talking, it just instantly helped me feel comfortable because it was an accent that was really familiar to me, which was massively helpful when I was getting to know him. And
So,
my mum
yeah.
said, when my mum first met him, Mum, drop calling, because he took us to the airport one morning when we were going on holiday. And after he'd gone, my mum just said, so nice to hear that accent, though, isn't it? Because it's not, you don't expect it around Manchester.
No.
And I think I'm more Yorkshire because I'm living with him, because it's an accent that's closer to home.
Well, yeah, it probably could be one of my special interests. In fact, it may soon become one of them because I've forgotten how much I like finding out about it. And
There we go.
so, anyway, in answer to your question, listener, there's any number of reasons why you may like to speak in a Northern Irish accent at home. If any of that has resonated with you, let us know which one of them you think that it is.
Good luck
That
deciphering it all.
I think my guess would be that it's some sort of stim,
Yeah.
and you always think of stims as being random noises or even physical things stims. Like
Yeah.
the classic one for autism is your hand flapping, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is one that I've never done. But have I walked around my kitchen talking to myself in a Russian accent? Yes. And do I find that comforting, and do I sometimes find it easier to process what I'm trying to tell myself? Definitely yes. So maybe that's why you speak like Jim McDonald.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not related to autism. But most of the time,
Everything
that'll
is.
be the tism.
Yes. So that's our main segment.
Mm.
We're going to use a jingle for the first time now as we talk about the trait of the week, because we didn't have a trait of the week last time. So
God.
here is the last one of the sounds that we've not used.
Trait of the week.
Okay.
So the trait of the week is wanting to know everything.
Yeah, the need for knowledge.
The thirst for knowledge.
It's weird because it's come in multiple ways. And was it you I had a conversation with about nosiness and whether that was an autistic trait, or was it someone else?
No, it will have been me. I'm not doing it because I'm nosy. I'm
No.
doing it because I like to have all of the information. Like, I will get upset if my husband doesn't tell me when he's out
Yeah.
what he's doing. And that's not because I don't trust him
No.
or because I'm being nosy. It's information that I don't have.
Yeah. We've just got Life 360, and the reason we got it is a bit of a tangent, but my mum disappeared. Mum dropped calling. She didn't. My mum didn't message my uncle on his birthday, and he messaged me and panicked because she hadn't messaged him on his birthday, and then none of us could get hold of my mum, and the reason was because she was out, which she's perfectly entitled to, to leave the house. And my brother went to her house, and then she got home and freaked out because my brother was at her house. He only lives 15 minutes from her, but nobody could get hold of her. And she was like, "What's happening?" And he's like, "Well, you're not dead. You're not on any of the floors. Your car's in the garage, so you must be out." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" Anyway, so we've got Life 360 so that I can track my mum. But also, it means that if she's at home and nobody can get her on the phone, then we can be concerned.
What is Live 360? Because I thought it was a video game.
Life 360 is an app that you can put on your phone. It's like Find My Friends, but it doesn't have to be an Apple phone. It can be any phone.
Right. Yeah, my mum's got us all on Find My Friends.
Yeah, see, we don't all
She
have
gets very
iPhones.
bored watching me where I am because it's generally in the same place.
I think I've got you on Find My Friends because
Yes.
when we came to your wedding, that's how I found where you were.
Oh, yes.
That's when
We've
I
had it, I
got.
think we've had it for a long time though, but
Might have
like I
had it
don't
before
generally
that, but I
tend
did
to
use that.
like
Watch me.
know where Emma is.
But it's handy to and it's something that, because like if I get anxious easily if there's traffic, but it's just reassuring to be able to know where people are.
Mm.
I think sometimes the need to know that
Yeah.
is quite, and yeah. So anyway, that was a bit of a tangent, but yeah, knowing all of the information is comforting. One of the reasons it's cropped up is in a work context, isn't it? It's answering. When somebody asks a question, it feels very awkward sometimes and uncomfortable and somehow like something's gone wrong if you don't know the answer. And the need to know everything in that context, if we don't know something, we sometimes feel like we're failing a little bit.
Failing,
at
yeah.
life.
Especially if you're somebody, as we are, I think both of us are, that generally people will come to you. You're a go-to person
Yeah.
to ask questions to, and you don't immediately know that answer. I mean, don't get me wrong, if I don't know something,
Within about 5 minutes, you do know.
I will, because I'll train myself, which is definitely a skill, but it's not one that you can easily show people until they've seen it. I did it the other week with something where somebody was like, "This is doing my head in. Can you have a look at it?" And then within a couple of hours, I'd sorted it. I knew how to do it all.
Well, it's like my audiobook thing because I'm with my book.
Oh, yes.
I know that I will find something out for someone else so much quicker than what I'll find it out for myself. And on my to-do list for ages has been find out how easy it is to create an audiobook. I mean, writing the book obviously has been the main priority. For anyone wanting a book update, I've still not finished the bloody book, but never mind. But yeah, I messaged you the other day, didn't I? And I was like, can you do this research for me? And you were like, yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. And then like an hour and a half later, I got all the information emailed to me because obviously it was a rabbit hole that you were
Yeah, I think you probably would have been able to have guessed that it wasn't going to be tomorrow. It was probably going to be soon. And I was watching YouTube videos. I was like, I've signed up for it myself. I've no intention of ever doing an audiobook, but I thought the best way that I can explain it to you is to like start going through the process myself.
Absolutely.
To be able to understand it. And that's what I like to do. And then when I can't immediately do that, it does feel like a failure. I think it's a processing thing, you know, because someone will say, oh, do you know about this? And my brain will go, well, I don't. But what I won't go is, I don't know now, but I will know. It's a not seeing the bigger picture thing.
Yeah.
That I will get my head around it. I need to. It's just that at that moment in time, I haven't got my head around it because we can't all know everything about everything.
Yeah, I mean, saying not yet. Do you know about this? Not yet, I don't. But I
No.
sense that in my future, sometime
Well,
soon.
no, not yet, but give me a couple of hours and
Yeah.
I'll be an expert in audiobooks
Yeah.
or, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
So it's the need to know everything is
And
this
why
week's
does
trait
it
of the week.
happen? Why does it
Just
happen?
because it's comfortable.
Because it makes you feel
It
better.
makes you feel secure. It makes you feel more in control. If you know the answer to things and you know what's happening and you know where everything is and what everyone is and what they're doing and what they're having for tea. And I wasn't, my instinct was to say how many times they've been to the toilet, but not everybody, that's not something you need to know about someone else. But, literally whatever.
I mean, it's information, isn't it? And we like to have information. That's the thing about it.
Yeah.
And the more information that you've got, the more you can reassure yourself when you're ruminating about things. And equally, if you know about something and you can talk about it, then you're not standing out. Whereas if you don't know about something, or at least in our brains, then you stand out. Whereas in actual fact, it's probably not that clear cut because sometimes if you know too much about stuff, then you stand out more.
Yeah, I mean, the really important thing to remember is that nobody knows everything, and it's really important to acknowledge that. Like earlier when we were having a conversation for the main section about accents, and it's like, I don't know enough about this. I need to read something more about it, but I didn't really. I just needed to sit down and think for 5 minutes, and then you knew enough. I can't be a specialist in everything, and it's like writing the book. I can't include every single scenario about moving house, and knowing that that's okay and that we're all human and nobody has all the answers. But it is that safety, and that if you know something, you're not going to fail. You're not going to get an answer wrong. You're never going to have to say, I don't know. Because saying I don't know is just awkward because that's perfectionism coming into play as well, isn't it? There's a lot of elements to it, but yeah.
So what we'll say is we don't know yet.
I don't know yet.
Don't know yet, but I will.
Right. So, are we going on to our random factoid? And now for this week's random factoid.
It's not a random factoid this week per se, because I only know one thing about the animal, but it's an interesting animal. And I sent you the video, so I would like you to watch the video so that you can see the animal that is real and is not AI, I hope.
Okay.
No, I Googled it last week.
Oh, it's a little fish that's got red lipstick on. And he's walking. Oh, my word.
Now, they are fins. It is a fish
that walks. The baby red-lipped batfish. I'm going to close that because I don't like how he attacks the camera at the end.
Oh, I didn't watch to the end because it was originally another clip that I'd sent to my friend.
Peppling.
And she sends me videos of animals, and that's how we communicate in life generally. And that video's gone, so I had to find it again. But it's the red-lipped batfish, who is usually found around the Galapagos Islands, and It doesn't walk, but it looks like it does, but it has highly adapted pectoral, pelvic, and anal fins.
Nice. Everyone likes a good anal fin.
To walk on the ocean floor. It's not the best looking fish.
It's got red lips.
But it's got red lips and it like walks along the ocean floor.
That's cool.
And when it reaches maturity, its dorsal fin becomes a single spine-like projection thought to function primarily as a lure for prey. So I think it goes out to the front and then it opens its mouth. Its massive mouth, because you saw it like opens its mouth really wide.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Much like a potu.
But it doesn't scream because obviously
you can't scream underwater, can you?
No.
Well, no, you can't. And I've tried.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is the red-lipped batfish.
Depths of up to 75 meters. It lives really deep under the sea.
Yes, and there's also a rosy-lipped batfish, and I think they were both named, or at least the red-lipped one was named by Charles Darwin.
Oh, nice, cool. I like it.
So that's the randomoid of the week.
It definitely gets away with being a random factoid.
I
think the only other thing that we haven't spoke about is the name of last week's podcast.
Oh, yes.
Which you will have to help me with.
Well received and dryly.
But where was that in the podcast?
It was well received and rightly so.
Okay.
And I think that it was about flood.
Yes, it would have been.
Which was episode 19, which was
our best one.
My Tismversary podcast, where we spoke about the things that we'd learned about having autism.
Yeah, it was a good episode. Was the first one of 2026.
Well received and dryly. I can't remember what any of the other options were.
My favourite thing was the thing that I actually said was Wobster Lee.
Wobster Lee, which was an Emmerism.
Which was actually me just saying lobster wee the wrong way
around.
And I liked it and it stayed in the podcast, but it tickled me. If you haven't listened to our episode 25 of our podcast, or if you've started to listen to it and think, I don't want to hear all of these clips, just skip to the animal bits at the end, because that is some of the funniest minutes of our podcast. I was crying nearly with laughter when I was listening to it in the car when it came out, and it was very funny when we sang
sex arm, that's my sex arm.
Yeah, when we were talking about octopuses. At the end there was Wobster Lee, and there was another thing as well, the 12 Days of Christmas, in reference to the echidnas. It was a funny end to a long podcast full of clips. But yeah, if you like any of our ideas, then please do let us know by emailing. That'll be the tism@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Because we are happy to receive emails from listeners, as you heard earlier in the episode. Or you can message us on social media. You can find all our links and things.
I like
to talk to people online.
From a distance. I like to speak to people from a distance.
Yeah. You can find all of our links at linktr.ee/ that'll be the Tism. And rate us and like us and do all of those things for us, please, on your podcast provider of choice or on YouTube if you're watching us there. Thank you very much for your time and effort and energy. We are grateful.
Have a lovely time.
Have a lovely fortnight. And then we will be recording again in May.
We will be recording on May the 4th.
And that will hopefully be with us.
Yeah. Hopefully we will be with May the 4th. Otherwise there will be no podcast.
No.
And it will be out on the 10th of May, which doesn't sound like a thing that could possibly be the case, but it is nearly May. It's gonna be May.
And maybe by the time we record next time, our book will be finished.
Maybe it will.
You never know. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. And we will speak to you next time. Bye for now.
That'll be the Tism.